Hello, everyone. Welcome. We are back. This is my husband, Dalton, and we're going to tell you a little bit about our relationship and how it is dating a trans person from a cis person's perspective. Cool. So, a little bit about our story and how we met. So, essentially, we started working at the same place. He had actually worked there for a while before me, but we were working at a bowling alley together. And I didn't know he was flirting with me when we first met, so we just started kind of texting. Um, and eventually he asked me if we could go out to lunch or dinner or just hang out and eat somewhere. And I was like, sure, let's go. Um, I asked him to suggest a place, thinking he would say like McDonald's or Burger King or something. And he said Applebee's, which if you don't know what that is, it's not really a nice restaurant, but it was nice in the area that we were living in. And so um, once he said that, I knew he wanted to go on a date with me. This was actually pre-transition for me. I was just beginning to kind of go down like that path and start learning about it. And I knew I was trans, but nobody else really did. And so I was in my mind thinking, okay, I'm going to tell him on this date. I don't want to like mislead him or anything like that. And everybody has their own ideas about when they want to do that. That was just when I wanted to. I just wanted to get that off the table right off the bat, just so he would know. And so yeah, we did that. I sat down. We had the conversation over Applebee's, and I essentially told him, I was like, hey, look, I'm moving in a short bit. I'm going to move out of state, and I'm also trans. And, I just wanted you to know that. And what was your response?
I just kind of shrugged. I was like, okay.
Yeah. He said, does that make me bi? And I was like, kind of very shocked by that response. And so I just kind of went, if if you're still attracted to me, then yes, I guess you would be bi. And he was just like, all right, cool. So do you want to go ahead and eat now? And we just kind of moved on. And I just kind of sat there going like, that went so much better than I expected it to go. And here we are and we're married multiple years later. So obviously it went well from there. But yeah, so I wanted to ask your side of what it's like to date a trans person.
Okay. So for me, it wasn't really any different because you're just dating someone. But to some people, it's a big shock because they're not used to that kind of, culture. So it's a big to them it would be a big juxtaposition. But for me, I'm just like, okay, I don't really know anything about that, but we'll learn as we go. And thankfully, you were learning as we were going.
Yeah.
So we both kind of simultaneously had this learning process together, which was helpful. And me being me, I'm very okay learning new things if I'm into it. If I'm not, I'm very stubborn about it. But in this case, clearly I'm fine with it. I'm just like, okay, that's fine. So
yeah, we just kind of researched together, or if I was doing some research about, surgeries or hormones or whatever, I would just kind of fill him in. I'd do the research while he was at work, and when he got home, I'd be like, hey, here's what I learned. Here's what that would mean. Do you have any thoughts or opinions or feelings on that? And he would just kind of be like, I mean, it's your body. Do what you need to do to make it feel more like your body. And that's just kind of how we went about that. He was just extremely accepting the whole way through, which was great. And again, I say unexpected. So it was just very nice to have that constant reassurance that I'm doing the right thing for me the whole way through. What are some things that you had to navigate in our relationship? Because this was your first time dating a trans person, and also your first time dating a guy.
Yep.
So there were quite a few things for you to kind of figure out, I feel like, but maybe not.
So navigation wise, I guess it was more so like I slipped up on pronouns really early on, but that was a quick fix.
Yeah, you were pretty quick about that.
And with friends that I knew I'd be like immediately around, it's like, hey, we're dating, and I'd bring you over and stuff. That was another thing of addressing. It's like, hey, like we're this, we're that. Don't make a big deal out of it. And if you're not okay with it, fine, just don't talk to me anymore.
Pretty much.
Nothing like that. But it was just like just be respectful. You respect me, please be respectful to them. And if not, I won't appreciate that very much. And thankfully, the response was absolutely perfect.
Yeah, pretty much everyone has been great about it. Your friends, like your roommates at the time, everyone was just like, okay, like we could not care less in a good way. They were like, as long as they're treating you well and you're happy, like we don't really care what they are, who they are, whatever. Like as long as you're happy, it doesn't matter. So that was really nice. And especially the roommates, they started treating me like one of the guys really quickly, which was it was really nice and also kind of silly at times. But it was nice.
Yeah, but that was something that you definitely needed early on.
True.
Because you're a little one.
Yeah. My favorite was one of the guys. He said really quietly it was like 2 a.m. We had all just gotten off of like a really terrible day at work, and we were all eating like it was some sort of like biscuit in a box or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, so I cooked this. It was one of these Walmart. You get a can of meat and gravy and a biscuit mix, and you put that all together in a pot or a pan, and you bake it. And like everybody was just really tired, and that's all we had at the moment. So I just put that in the oven, and then we're all eating it.
Yeah, and one of his roommates leans in and like really quietly goes, "You're eating like a guy," and I was like, "What?" Like I didn't hear him, and he's like, "You're eating like a guy," and he just kind of smirked at me, and I was like, I don't know. It was like a really sweet moment and like a really funny compliment, but like still to this day, I'm like, that was like the best he could do, and I'm okay with that. That was really nice of him. I still love that. That was a great memory. But yeah, so all of that to say, everyone around him was pretty okay with it. Some of them I think had questions, but
Oh no, definitely.
they were really respectful of me and didn't ask me those questions.
And for a lot of people, that was a big first, like
Yeah.
trans person. Whoa, they're in front of me.
Wow,
It's not an article on my phone.
it's a novelty.
Right. So that was another big thing of just like that, like just being a solo introduction. And another thing navigation wise, just certain body image things were something I've had knowledge of, but I didn't really have much of an idea, but like firsthand, like if someone's struggling with it, how would you support them? How would you try and help them out with it? So that was me trying to navigate that as well. I was trying to figure out those issues because I have, everybody's got something they're not proud of regardless. But in this case, a huge, totally different bandwidth of, ideas of what you don't like about yourself. Clearly.
Yeah.
So it was a bigger concept of something I had a vague idea of.
Yeah.
So that was another thing, like I was figuring out as it was going along.
Yeah. This is Zoe, by the way. This is our little child.
She's getting restless while I talk, so.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't even thought about that part as well. Like just that everyone experiences that, of course, but that it was a little bit different to navigate on like how to address my specific body issues and things like that. Things I did like about myself and things I didn't like about myself. That was probably a very not necessarily challenging thing to learn, but like maybe a lot to keep up with.
I can imagine. I mean, there's certain things like physical quality wise, you're like, okay, this is a benefit, this is not a benefit, this helps, this is something I want to shop away immediately.
Pretty much. Yeah.
More or less.
Yeah. And it's also interesting because, on this topic, it's not that way for every trans person.
That's fair, yeah. Absolutely.
And what every person likes about their body is going to be different, and dislikes about their body are going to be different. And some trans people love their body and how it looks.
And that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I can only speak for my experience as I've been married to this trans person.
Yeah. Yeah. So we just want to clarify that, like, some trans people actually love every part about themselves, and honestly, I wish that I did. It would make certain things a lot easier, but I don't love everything about myself, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing either.
Yeah, and when you're the partner and you hear that kind of stuff, you know, you always want to be like, oh, everything about you is amazing, but you don't want to be pedantic either, because be realistic.
Yeah.
You get it.
Yeah.
You don't want to do all that.
And I will say that you've been really good about that. Like our whole relationship, like he does a good job about making sure that like I'm not just like dogging on myself, like, oh, like this part of me is awful and this part of me is awful, and just kind of get a sad face and can be like, well, I like it, but I understand that you don't, and that's okay. And so, you know, it's like taking care of both of our emotions in that way on the topic, because he doesn't want to see me be like mean to myself, but he also gets it that it's something that he can't understand.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, it's something I definitely understand conceptually and emotionally, but in terms of like me objectively seeing my spouse, I'm like, I don't see a problem. So, yeah.
yeah. So, is there any advice that you would give someone in a similar situation who's maybe dating a trans person for the first time and doesn't know where to start? Um, or maybe they're also trans and so they do kind of know where to start, but they don't know how to navigate with another person.
The best thing you can do, honestly, is learn with them, like as much as you can alongside them, and like cross-reference info. Because if you don't, you're going to be kind of stumbled and stymied a lot with certain things that are going on. And it's just a lot easier if you're more aware. Another thing I would say is like all the fetishes and stuff like that. Hopefully, that's not a reason you're in the relationship, because it's not the best reason why. So that's obvious.
But it's not a good reason at all.
But it's just certain people, that's kind of like the prerogative, no matter what. It's not good.
Yeah.
So, but for me, and just because of how easy it was to convince me, like, to continue dating you, was I'm just like, I'll keep dating you. I don't care.
Yeah.
So, like, that's not gonna be everybody, clearly.
Yeah. Some people are not going to be as accepting. I have heard horror stories, and that's why I came prepared to our first date. And I was like, look, this is me. If you don't like it, we can just eat the rest of this dinner as friends. We can leave. Like, I don't care either way. I wanted you to know this, and I don't want to put myself in a dangerous situation.
Yeah, but I invited you to Applebee's, and that's pretty fancy. So, you know, go home with something.
Alrighty.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Are there any last comments that you would like to make on this topic?
Slightly. So when we first started dating and it was early on and stuff, and I was processing it in my head, it wasn't a big shock of like dating a trans person. It was more of me getting ready for certain family members and certain people I knew that aren't very, you know, okay in that community. So that was something slightly like, all right, tense up. And it was very surprisingly okay in the beginning. And then it got a little awkward later on. There were certain comfortabilities and certain signs that were shown all over again. And that didn't help a lot. So it made me realize, you know, who to just stick around with, who to kind of keep a distance with, maybe, just for the sake of like, I married somebody and they're not respecting that. Which I was taking clearly personally because I'm married to you.
Yeah.
So, which I felt was unfair because I could hear some weird excuse in my head of them being like, well, I didn't mean them. I just mean, but it's the same thing. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I would say from a trans person's perspective, if you're an ally watching and you're dating a trans person, it's a new relationship, and maybe you're looking for some advice, kind of, I stand up for your partner whenever you can. If there's any instance where one of your close friends or one of your family members is just not okay with it, then that person should not be, honestly, it may sound extreme, but that person should not be around your partner. If that means staying out of some family obligations, that means staying out of some family obligations, because if they're not okay with who you love and who you feel the most connected to in that way, and who you want to uplift and support as a partner in everything you do, then why would you allow them to be around someone who makes them feel terrible and who like just hates their existence? It's it's not good. So he's, like I said, he's done a great job of that, of making sure that, he has those conversations with people beforehand so that there's not really any awkward moments for me. And he stands up for me when they're being kind of maybe ignorant and they don't know better in some cases. And if they do know better, making sure to call it out.
And there's definitely family members who more or less innocently misphrase something and it's corrected. They're like, okay. There's others where if they, misspoke, they're still standing by it. Like, no, that's what I said.
Yeah.
So
So it's just kind of making sure that your partner feels comfortable, safe, and respected.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
that is a pretty good point advice wise. Is like if certain family members are fine with it, then invite them over, bring them, mingle. Other ones, try and strategize, figure it out.
Yeah.
Because it can be easy or tricky. Sometimes you just have to like, well, they want to come over for dinner. It's like, too bad. It's like, all right, well, we'll go out to eat, and you don't have to bother with this.
Yeah, that's another good way to handle that is like, hey, I'm gonna have dinner with this person because they are my family and I have some sort of obligation to that. But maybe you don't have to bring your partner along if they're gonna disrespect them.
Yeah.
And if they're talking bad about them during the dinner, then you can be like, hey, if you keep disrespecting my partner when they're not here, I will leave. And things like that. It does make a big difference to the trans person in your life.
Yeah.
When you advocate for them in those ways. Speaking from experience. And I would absolutely not want to be with someone who didn't stick up for me like that. So
And there's been instances where I've seen the examples of what I've said to the family show results in a great way.
definitely.
There's been times where we hesitate going to a family gathering. We show up and like, oh, they're not here. It's like, like okay. We sit on the couch like, all right, so when's pie? It's like, it's pretty easy breezy like that. So communicating to make sure your partner is, if you're far along in the relationship where you can meet family and stuff, if you get that far along, make sure there's a safe space. Make sure people who want to be there are there for the family, for everyone, no matter what, no matter who. So that would make it just a lot easier, honestly. But my position and my family, my situation is a lot different than a lot of other people's. So sometimes you just can't make that accessibility.
Sometimes it isn't safe, and that is also understandable. Most of my family is not safe. So I totally get that. And it's a whole other challenge.
Yeah, if it's in the category of you have to be independent and you have to try and figure it out, it's a lot trickier because certain places, family wise, at least, it's just not going to be as okay to go to. It's like, well, I don't have a place to host and hang out and stuff. It's like, too bad. Yeah. So you can always, if you have friends that are okay with the social gathering thing, you can try it there, maybe, I guess, if they're more, accepting. But again, I had different friends that were okay with that kind of thing, so I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's tricky because we were pretty fortunate with a lot of stuff. So certain people are not as, so it's a lot tougher in certain situations.
Yeah.
So perspective wise, I'm just trying to keep it like more accessible and different vantage points.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about that before, how lucky we were as far as friends go.
Yeah, especially in the South. I have to stress this. We were from the South.
Yeah. we actually got surprisingly lucky with that. Some of our coworkers were queer, and we got to hang out with them and their partners, and we had game nights and things with them. We built a very small but very nice community of queer people in the South. And when we moved, that was one of the harder things, is we were like, oh, we've made a lot of really accepting friends through our various jobs, and it was kind of sad to leave them all behind. But it's good.
Yeah. But a lot of people, maybe they do have those friends where they have that small community, which is good. That's your tribe. Be with them. But there's others where maybe it's a bit more secular, a bit more lonely, and a bit more confusing and tougher to go through. So that's where it gets trickier. But if you do find a partner and it's green flags, hopefully, don't be chasing the red flags. But that bothers me. I'm not getting into that. But let's say hypothetically, it's a healthy, nice relationship. Everybody's happy. Nobody's trying to trigger anybody to get mad about things intentionally for some reason. Try to just be with them as much as you can together. That is your little wolf pack, even if it's just that one other person. You gotta find someone that keeps you happy to stay sane in this world, especially in this community. God.
Yeah. So, what have we learned, kids? We've learned that you should respect your partner around everybody, and you should make sure that everybody around you respects your partner. We've learned that the journey is pretty unique to each person, and you should definitely work with your partner throughout the whole journey as much as possible to continue learning together on what best is going to work for them. And what else did we learn? Anything else? I think that's it. That's pretty much it. That summarizes it. Yeah, we learned a lot. If anyone has any questions, this one was pre-recorded. Feel free to type them in the comments and I will answer them later. I will try to go through and answer them later at least. And I might even go on Instagram and post some videos on it after the live stream. Yeah, this has been my Dalton. Any last words?
Nah.
Okay. All right, well, hope you enjoyed this. Hope you learned something. Hope you got something from this. And we'll get into the next segment. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.